Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I am Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively, we are the three most ruthless office blokes to ever exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
Chop you. There you go.
Toothless, not
chop
ruthless.
Simply.
Yeah, and as you can see, all three of us are back together again.
We are indeed.
Office Bloke Daz survived his long ordeal with COVID.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Only a day. Not really.
Had to sit in
I
his
got
office.
got really ill for like one day, and then the other days was all right.
You have to sit in his office for minutes, didn't you?
Yeah. It's
Anyway.
actually good. No one came in to bother me.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Bit of peace and
Bit
quiet.
nice change, eh?
The most ruthless female mobsters to ever exist.
Ooh, you know what? I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I've been watching that show, The Queen of the South.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah.
One of the drug cartels down there.
Yeah.
Sinaloa.
Yeah,
is
Sinaloa,
it?
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I associated with the sort of cartels. There's been a few high-profile female leaders.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but I'm not sure, like, because you hear of Al Capone and people like that,
So
don't you?
Italian-wise,
it tends to be male.
It seems to be all male, doesn't it? Very much so.
Let's get into this. The most female ruthless mobsters to ever exist.
From smuggling to killing, casinos to illegal substances, the mafia has done it all. And for the most part, men have been at the center of the discussion. But there have been women, female mafia mobsters, who were as iconic as they were notorious. Women who controlled global crime syndicates and had armies of men at their beck and call. In this video, I will show you the most notorious 5 female mobsters in history. Let's dive in. Virginia Hill, 1916 to 1966. Virginia knew how to keep her mouth shut.
Do you ever get any money from any other person whom we might call a gangster other than Siegel?
No.
Did you ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Myalansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
None
fellas?
of those fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, or none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Fichettes?
No.
You
I
think-
don't even speak to the... I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
No.
Born into poverty on the 26th of August, 1916, Annie Virginia Hill wanted to be rich. So when her divorced mother moved to Georgia, she followed before moving to Chicago, where she became a waitress and a lady of the night. She eventually got into the world of crime. By 1933, at the age of 17, she was the mistress to several mob bosses in the East Coast, moving money and messages between Chicago and New York, Los Angeles and Las Vegas. When the police tried to get her to turn on the mob, Virginia invoked omerta, the mafia's code of silence.
It's got many different meanings, but what did omerta mean to you?
It meant open your mouth when you're in a dentist's office. Don't talk.
I don't care who betrayed me. I don't care who ratted on me. I don't care how bad the life was. I took an oath. That's what omerta is. You took the blood oath. You agreed to keep your mouth shut. You knew you weren't entering fantasy land. It was a criminal life. We knew what we were getting involved in, and we have to shut our mouth.
Her loyalty not only earned the mafia's trust, it also stole the heart of a notorious yet visionary mafia boss named Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel was responsible for what Las Vegas is today, and back when he met Virginia Hill, he ran several casinos and a bootlegging empire. Above all, he loved Virginia deeply enough to name his biggest casino after her. Unfortunately, Siegel was shot.
She called Flamingo.
Yeah.
Virginia Hill.
Is that the name of the casino?
Rumored to be flame. Well, it says she had a nickname, rumoured to be Flaming, does it say?
It must be Fleming
Ah,
Go.
right,
There's a Geo doesn't fit on the end there, does it? So, right.
Ah,
that
right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Deeply enough to name his biggest casino after her. Unfortunately, Siegel was shot dead in Virginia's Vegas home on the 20th of June, 1947. But strangely enough, Virginia had traveled to Paris 4 days before the shooting, leading many to believe that she knew there was a hit, and she had just abandoned Bugsy to his fate. By 1951, Virginia found herself under national scrutiny when a senator named Estes T. Kefauver launched an investigation into the mafia. Once again, Virginia kept her lips sealed.
You still bet the horse race?
That's the only thing now? I don't bet anything. Now I'm afraid I'll win, and then they'll say I made more money than I did.
You mean you just don't want to win anymore?
I don't want any more.
After denying every allegation, she escaped to Europe, where she lived far from the American press, with her son Peter and her husband Henry Hauser, an Austrian skier. On the 24th of March 1966, she was found dead from an overdose of sleeping pills, with her coat neatly folded beside her and a note that described how tired she was of life. Since her passing, Hollywood has worshipped her, and today, many in the world of crime still look up to the mob queen.
Never even heard of her.
No, me neither.
No, I've not.
And she's kind of like, I was hoping for a mob boss. Like, she's a mobster, isn't she?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It seems to be quite like that, did it really? It seems she was sort of affiliated with
This
them.
says
but-
most ruthless female mobsters, not mob bosses.
Yeah, I maybe wrongly assumed, like,
Yeah.
the head of an organisation. Still, she seemed like she had a bit of an attitude.
Quite interesting. I'm surprised that, well, maybe they have. Obviously, we haven't seen all of them yet, but maybe if there's any films been made of these
I wouldn't mind
that
betting
just
there
gone
is.
on
I
under
bet
our
there is,
radar,
yeah.
you'd think, because it must be pretty interesting characters. these.
Yeah.
I don't think mob movies are really that popular at the moment. They haven't been for a
Yeah.
while. You get the classics, like we had the Irishman a couple of
Yeah.
years ago and stuff, but new Italian mob sort of
kind of
movies
all
aren't
been
really.
done, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stephanie Sinclair, 1897 to 1969. Life in the 20th century was brutal for black women, and yet this woman managed to rise to the top. Not much is known about Stephanie Sinclair's background, but many believe she was born on an island off the shores of France in the late 1800s. From childhood, Stephanie Sinclair found that she had a strong will and cared very little about consequences. So on the 22nd of July, 1911, when she was only 13, she hopped on a boat bound for New York City. Soon, Sinclair got into the booming gambling business in Harlem. It was the mid-1920s, and gambling in Harlem was a black man's racket. And yet, Sinclair was able to get those men to work for her. They even became fiercely loyal to her. At her peak, the woman was worth $500,000, $8 million in today's money. But then, a notorious white bootlegger named Dutch Schultz, with ties to the mafia and corrupt politicians, chose to take over Harlem's black gambling business. He issued an ultimatum: sell your business to me or pay royalties. But while everyone panicked, Sinclair published her response to his ultimatum in the papers. I'm not afraid of Dutch Schultz or any other living man. He'll never touch me. I will kill Schultz if he sets foot in Harlem. He is a rat. The policy game is my game. This led to a full-scale war, but Sinclair was the one who struck first. She organized black gamblers to undermine Schultz's associates and intimidate white gamblers working for him. She even took out ads encouraging black Harlemites to patronize only black gambling outfits. Furious Schultz retaliated by issuing threats, murdering her men, and placing a bounty on her head. At one point, he even sent an assassin to take her life, but Sinclair killed the hitman. Eventually, it was the mafia who assassinated Schultz for an unrelated dispute. And Sinclair, in her eccentric fashion, sent a telegram to her fallen enemy, signed, Madam Queen of Policy. It read, "As ye sow, so shall you reap."
That's more like it, isn't it?
Yeah. She's definitely had a bit of attitude.
That's
From the upbringing as well.
Yeah, of course.
That's someone who's not complaining about their circumstances, you know, and just getting on with it,
Yeah.
like fucking ruthless.
Yeah, big time.
Just a bit, yeah.
So,
Don't mess with her.
From then on, Sinclair would get into a weird one-year trial period marriage with this man, Bishop Amaru Almu Minin Sophie Abdul Hamid, and would
That's a
later
name,
terminate
isn't
her
it?
subscription with 3 bullets after she caught him cheating. After spending 10 years in prison for the crime, Sinclair stepped back from crime and died poor. Today, she's remembered as a gangster, civil rights advocate, fashionista, and businesswoman who successfully took on one of the men of her era and won.
wow.
Sister Ping, 1949 to 2014. Sister Ping was born on the 9th of January 1949 in a poor farming village in northern China. By the time she was 15, she began taking care of her family when her father illegally immigrated to the US. He stayed there for 13 years before he was apprehended and deported to China in 1977. In China, Ping's father began smuggling people into the US, introducing his daughter to a career that would come to define her future. In 1974, Ping moved to Hong Kong, became successful, and opened a factory in Shenzhen, China. By June 1981, with the help of an elderly couple, Ping successfully applied to be a nanny in New York. Along with her family, she smuggled herself into Chinatown, Manhattan on the 17th of November, 1981. There she opened a shop called Tak Shun Variety Store, where she appeared to care for elderly immigrants from her village. In truth, it was a front for her one-woman human smuggling operation, where she moved many of her villagers from China into the US using forged identification documents, commercial airlines, and cargo ships. These illegal immigrants were charged $35,000, and Chinatown's most violent thugs enforced payment. In 1989, Canadian police discovered her racket and arrested her. She served only 4 months, and upon her release, she got right back to business. There was a high demand during this period because the US government offered Chinese students present in the United States at the time of the Tiananmen Square protest of 1989 an opportunity to stay. So thousands of illegal immigrants flooded towards the country, and Sister Ping was there to lend aid, at a price of course. Meanwhile, the shipments with illegal immigrants capsized, killing everyone on board, and her name came under the authorities' radar. By the time she was eventually caught, the US Department of Justice declared at her sentencing that Sister Ping was one of the first and ultimately most successful human smugglers of all time. At her peak, she was worth around $40 million.
Wow.
She was arrested in Hong Kong while using a fake passport. A month later, she was extradited to the US and handed a 35-year sentence. On the 24th of April 2014, age 65, Sister Ping passed away in jail. And at her funeral in Manhattan, thousands of mourners flocked the streets, showing you just how influential Sister Ping was.
Wow.
Never even heard of her again.
No.
Human trafficking is such a dark one, though, isn't it?
Massive at the
It's
moment.
still going on now, isn't it? It's
Huge.
just big business, isn't it, for these people?
I think the scale of it is like
What people?
big people. Yeah, the scale of it's becoming more
Nasty
and more
people.
apparent, isn't it, at
Yeah.
the moment? But yes, it's mad.
Well, it's big business. You think, how do people scrape together $35,000 to actually get smuggled, don't you? Because the charge is so much money, these
Do you know how much
people.
they charged to cross the channel from P&O ferries? No. The smugglers from people smugglers from France, the UK.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're charging for
10 grand?
For?
between 10 and 30?
Really?
Yeah.
Just to get a little dinghy and be sent on your way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's from Calais to here.
Some of them from Italy. I watched one from Italy, a documentary on it from Italy, where they were coming in from they were crossing in Turkey and then managing to get to Italy, and then they were sent on a boat from Italy. They were coming through to the UK.
Are they escorting them from through these countries and then over the?
Some of them have an
channel?
escort coming through mainland Europe, into France, and then once they're at the coast in France, it's over.
It's a fair game. Yeah. Just go for it.
Do you think somewhere in places over here and throughout Europe, do you think there's places where they make them work to pay off the debts as well? Is that basically the way to do it?
Families are at risk. There's all kinds of shit.
Of course, of course.
It used to be a big thing in Manchester where it'd be quite elderly Chinese women selling DVDs.
Right, okay.
And they're just selling fake DVDs, and most of them have been trafficked. And to pay off the debt, they've got to work for the next 10 years or whatever, just selling DVDs or doing whatever needs doing. So it's modern day slavery, isn't it?
Of course, that's exactly what it is, isn't
it's
it?
huge at the moment.
Yeah.
Asunta Maresca, 1935 to 2021. From a small town in Campania, the Maresca family had a terrible reputation that stretched across Naples. The head of the family, Alberto Maresca, was a notorious smuggler of contraband cigarettes. His brother Vincenzo had killed his older brother, Gerardo, in cold blood. And the entire family were known as the Lightning Knives because of how good they were with switchblades. This was the family that Asunta was born into, the only girl out of 4 boys. By the time she was 19, everyone wanted to marry her because of how beautiful she was. On the 27th of April 1955, she settled for a Camorra boss known as Pasquale Simonetti, who dealt in smuggled goods. But just 3 months after their marriage, Pasquale was gunned down in Naples Central Square by a hitman employed by a jealous rival named Camarista Antonio Epicito. Asunta was devastated. 6 months pregnant and thirsty for revenge. So she drove to Naples with her youngest brother, Ciro, pulled out a revolver and fired 29 bullets into Antonio, killing him like he killed her husband, in cold blood and broad daylight. When asked why she shot him 29 times, Asunta said that she thought she would miss. Her case was taken to trial in 1959, and it got the attention of the world when she famously declared in the middle of the trial proceeding, "I would do it again." The whole courtroom burst into cheers. And men, once again, began sending marriage proposals while her trial was ongoing. Eventually, she got a 13-year sentence, gave birth to her first child, Pasquale, in prison, and was ultimately pardoned in 1965 after spending 10 years inside. After this, Asunta returned to Camorra and got married to another Camorra boss named Umberto Amaturo. Her son was a teenager at the time, hated Amaturo, and the latter threatened to kill him. In 1974, Pasquale was abducted and killed, and Asunta blamed Amaturo for killing her son. The two separated in 1982, and from here on, Asunta devoted all of her energy to the Camorra and her family's business. She took active roles, organized rallies, and publicly defied the boss of a rival Camorra clan after he imposed taxes on her family's business and almost killed her brother, Ciro. In 1982, she and her estranged lover, Amaturo, were accused of killing a forensic scientist. Although she denied involvement, she was given a 4-year sentence. After her release, Asunta lived in solitude till December 2021, dying a month before her 87th birthday.
I think I've seen a movie on that.
Really?
When it first started off, it sounded very familiar. And then it said Camorra, and I mentioned it last time, the TV show that's on Netflix called Camorra.
Yeah, you did,
And it's and I'm not sure if I started watching that, but that first bit sounds very familiar from a movie.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise you, would it? It wouldn't surprise you if they had made some of these into a movie or a program or a series. Or
it was the knife thing they were talking about. The names. It sounded like it all came back to me a little bit familiar. Yeah. Let us know if there's a film or a program on that. If it is Camorra, I don't know.
Yeah. I think there is going to be some films or at least dramas on some of these people.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Just at least loosely based on them, you'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Just number one now, is it?
Looks like it.
Maria Licciardi. 1951. Maria Licciardi was born into crime.
Should have lived for 1 year.
Her entire family were staunch members of the Camorra, and her father was a well-known local boss, also known as Guapo. Her older brother, Gennaro Licciardi, formed the infamous Licciardi clan, and when it was time to marry, Maria was wedded off to a Guapo in the Camorra. But a series of unfortunate events happened in her family. First, her brother Gennaro died. Then her other two brothers who took over were arrested, and her husband, who then took leadership of the Licciardi clan, was also arrested by the police. This left the Licciardi clan without a male head, so Maria took power, becoming the first female camarista to rule the Licciardi clan. She also took leadership over a powerful alliance that her older brother had established among other clans in the Secondigliano district in Naples. Maria was able to settle a lot of unrest in the criminal underworld and shut down the Guapos who wanted to take control. Maria also found a way to expand the coalition that her brother created until there were at least 20 clans. She also made them more organized, secretive, sophisticated. However, the biggest change Maria brought to the Camorra was the introduction of prostitution, which her deceased brother had strongly opposed. Under Maria, local, mostly underage girls trying to escape poverty were brought from the Albanian mafia for $2,000 and forced into prostitution by the Camorra. Maria also hooked the girls on drugs and ran a system where these girls, now addicted to the substance, spent all of their money buying Maria's drugs. Throughout much of the late 20th century, no one in the law enforcement agencies knew that Maria Licciardi existed. As a result, through her peak, she never got arrested, charged, or even mentioned by the papers. Meanwhile, the Licciardi clan was seen as a charitable organization in her town, giving out food and money to poor neighborhoods. But all of that changed when a tip led to her first arrest in January 1998. Her lawyers did a great job clearing her name, and she faded into obscurity. Business would go on as usual until a rebellious clan went against Maria's wishes, choosing to sell unrefined heroin to her customers and leading to the deaths of many. As the police cracked down on them, a war broke out that forced Maria to respond with violence. In the aftermath of war, there were 120 casualties in Naples. But even worse, now the world was aware of Maria's existence. Over the 3 years that followed, Maria avoided arrest, running her clan with an iron fist and assassinating rebellious heads of other clans. On the 14th of June 2001, Licciardi was arrested by the Naples police and sent to jail for 9 years. In prison, she continued running the Licciardi clan. She still does today. The authorities know that she's the only thing standing between the relative peace in the Camorra and the complete mayhem that would unleash in her absence.
Wow.
Yeah, some interesting ones there.
Yeah, and she's still going at the moment by the sound of it.
It's not a side of organised crime that you see represented a lot, is it?
No.
Not at all, no.
Like you say before, most of the heads of the families are all male.
Yeah.
And it goes there, but some of these female ones that are taking over there, it's senior roles, aren't they?
She's ruthless as well by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So I wonder when this was made, whether she's still inside or whether she's been released now. Because she got 9 years, didn't she? So.
Oh, no, she was released. It was 2001. She got 9 years.
2001, right?
Yeah, so she went out.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that's there needs to be some movies about some of these people, I think.
Yeah, that one definitely sounded familiar to me when they were talking about the switchblades and stuff like that. They were good with the knives and just sounded a little bit like I've seen something similar.
Yeah.
And then the names come up and all that, so let us know on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Hope you guys enjoyed it too. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.